Good day. It's April 14, 2025. As the Department of Justice of the Trump administration continued to get overwhelmed with hundreds of lawsuits filed by individuals and organizations, including by Democratic state attorneys general, we are going to focus today on Trump's deportation executive orders on the first segment of our show. I'm Joe Buban. Welcome to The Pulse. There are three deportation cases that has gained the attention of the country and had dominated the news cycle for more than 2 weeks now. And we are going to look into the developing situations of the three cases. The first one is the case involving the deportation of Venezuelans to a third country, El Salvador. The case was filed by 4 Venezuelan immigrants who were deported to a notorious maximum security prison in El Salvador. This case was first to spark an outrage among human rights groups and civil rights advocates, and many in the legal profession and constitutionalists. Families of the 4 deportees claims that their family member were not members of the infamous Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua. The Justice Department did not follow the judge order that the defendant, that is the Trump administration, provide him. The sequence of his order to the point the planes landed in El Salvador, and the officials involved in not following his order. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi's response to Judge Boasberg said, "They can't provide the information because it is a security privilege information." Judge Boasberg did not insist but issued a temporary injunction to the Trump government to stop deporting to third country like El Salvador, Guatemala, and stop deporting people using the Alien Enemies Act. The Court of Appeals agreed with Judge Boasberg, but when it was elevated to the U.S. Supreme Court in a 5-4 decision case, the High Court decided in part to allow Trump to continue to use the Alien Enemies Act. But some portion of the case will still await oral arguments in the High Court. The Trump administration went directly to the Supreme Court for an emergency relief from the injunction, bypassing the Court of Appeals. Chief Justice Roberts, who is in charge of the D.C. area cases, granted a temporary stay of Judge Boasberg's injunction, but had asked the plaintiff's lawyers to submit application and arguments why the injunction should remain by Monday, for which the plaintiff readily made things in response to Judge Central to this legal fight between this group who invoke the rule of law versus the Trump administration ignoring the constitutional right to due process entitled to any person present in the United States, whether legally present or illegally here in the U.S. The second point to contention by lawyers representing the 4 Venezuelans who were deported to El Salvador is the question of legality of using the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 and the use of a third country to deport them where the deportees has no relation to that third country. This particular case has become the flashpoint of real struggle of power between the executive branch versus judiciary, which are co-equal in power under the U.S. Constitution. While the president has power in the executive branch, the judiciary is the interpreter of the law, such as his executive orders, whether or not it is constitutional, or if another law is being violated by the presidential action. That is the job of the judicial branch of government. For now, it is Judge James Boasberg who is Chief Judge in the D.C. Federal District Court. During an emergency weekend hearing that held almost 3 weeks ago, when he was told by the DOJ lawyer that the deportation flight's already in the air. Judge Boasberg gave a verbal order to have the plane turn around to the U.S. But his order was ignored by DOJ and the Department of Homeland Security. And Judge Boasberg held a hearing on the following Monday after his court order was ignored to obtain a detail of how and who gave the order from the Trump administration to ignore his order. The second case that gained national attention is the case of Kimbal Abrego Garcia, an immigrant from El Salvador, who has a legal protection to stay in the U.S. issued by another federal judge before Trump's second term and his mass deportation program. He is a family man who has no criminal history in the U.S., but was scooped by the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, in Maryland. He was mistakenly identified as a gang member of MS-13, which is actually the reason he fled to the U.S. for protection against the MS-13 gang who threatened his life. The family of Kimbal Abrego Garcia hired an attorney and sued the Trump administration. The Justice Department lawyer admitted to the judge that Abrego Garcia was deported in error. The DOJ's response was to put the lawyer on administrative leave, kept him off the case, but U.S. District Court Judge Paula Xenius had ordered the Trump administration to return Kimbal Abrego Garcia to the U.S. from the infamous mega prison in El Salvador. The Trump administration indicated that they have no legal means of returning the Abrego Garcia to the U.S., but judge gave the administration to bring the deported, legally protected person back to the U.S. by 11:59 p.m. on Monday last week. The Trump administration, by midday before the deadline, went directly to the U.S. Supreme Court, and Chief Justice Roberts put a stay on Judge Xenius' order to bring back Abrego Garcia, but instructed the plaintiff's lawyer for application to lift the stay by today. But the lawyer immediately filed the application. The case temporarily gave Trump the shield not to comply with Judge Xenius' order, pending further hearing on the case by the High Court. The third case involves a student whose arrest captured on video had become viral. A disturbing scene of ICE agents in masks resembling a kidnapping and arrests that is commonly seen in dictatorial countries. The arrest in Boston, Massachusetts of Tufts University's doctoral student from Turkey, Rumeysa Ozturk, sparked an outrage around the country. Her arrest resembles what the CIA termed as rendition. She was arrested in Boston, but a few hours later, the ICE admitted she is already in a detention facility in Basile, Louisiana, a remote rural facility designed to keep away visitors and lawyers easy access to defendants. A lawyer filed a habeas corpus case in behalf of Ms. Ozturk, and Judge Denise Casper in Boston blocked her removal from Massachusetts. But the DOJ informed the court that she is already in Louisiana. In a succeeding order, Judge Casper ordered that she not be removed from the United States. On the same habeas corpus case, Ozturk was targeted by ICE and the administration for writing an op-ed in the campus newspaper criticizing Israel for the horrific situation in Gaza and the Palestinian people. The Trump administration is appealing the case to the U.S. Court of Appeals as it refuses to comply. We are going to take a commercial break. Please stay tuned.
Pure Medical Equipment provides top-notch quality medical supply equipment. Whether to rent or buy, Pure Medical Equipment and Supplies has it all.
Pure Medical Equipment is committed to serve and give back to Southern Nevada.
We deliver medical supplies and rentals to your door.
Welcome back to The Pulse. We go first into our Las Vegas community news. The Clark County Board of Commissioners will end the comment period for a resolution creating the FilipinoTown Cultural District. Such cultural district designation covers Maryland Parkway, where Seafood City is located, and begins in the north at Desert Inn and ends in the south at Flamingo Avenue. The final hearing will be held tomorrow, April 15. Still in Las Vegas, the Nevada Office of Minority Health and Equity will hold annual National Healthcare Decision Day event on Wednesday, April 16. The public and healthcare advocates are invited to attend. Such event will be held at the United Way of Southern Nevada at 5830 West Flamingo Road. You can also pre-register if you wish to attend by scanning this QR code. Here are a few more information about the event from Dr. Siddharth Reich.
Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Siddharth Reich. I'm with the Nevada Office of Minority Health and Equity, know me for short, and we have an amazing event for community and advocates on April 16th, which is National Healthcare Decisions Day. We hope to see you there. We're going to have a lot of legal experts to answer all of your legal questions. Feel free to register through the QR code or the link provided, and we hope to see you there.
In sports, another big sports event is coming to Las Vegas. The 2025 Cognizant Major League Cricket season will be played on June 20 to June 28. This world popular sport is expected to dominate the sporting event in Las Vegas in June this year. We will let you know where or how you can watch them on television for these events. For those who are not familiar with this game, think of it as baseball, but instead of baseball bat, they use a paddle to hit the ball. This sport is very popular in Europe, South Asia, and South America, and across Africa, and is beginning to gain popularity in the US. Around the country last Saturday, April 5, all throughout all cities in the US from all 50 states, from Los Angeles to New York City, saw a mass protests from different sides of the political spectrum coming together, known as the hands-off protests. Initially organized against the firing of federal employees, Musk's DOGE cuts, and tariffs, and all of the Trump administration's agenda to endanger the very living conditions of everyday Americans. MAGA supporters and other staunch Trump supporters have spread misinformation online that they are paid protests. With Trump imposing 24% tariffs on Japan and 145% on China, things are getting a bit complicated on imports and exports. Most of us will no longer be able to shop at Walmart, the store where millions of ordinary Americans go for. What about Japan? American young people finally were alarmed for the first time, tariff on video games. Nintendo may have a hard time shipping new products to the US. After the announcement of the new Nintendo Switch 2 will be delayed. Pre-orders may be delayed due to the tariffs. However, the pre-order deliveries for April 9th is delayed. The launching on June 5 will still continue. The price for the new Nintendo Switch Part 2 will be $449 plus tax. With the results, there are speculations of how many would be available. Well, if you are a gamer and you voted for Trump, this is one of the consequences of your vote. The stock market is crashing, and Trump's operatives in the White House continue to spin this off as normal and within the president's goal. Let's take a look at how tariff war had severely harmed us, the United States, in the past. Tariffs has become a problem created by Republican politicians over the past century. When then President William McKinley was a congressman in 1890, before becoming president in 1897, imposed 50% tariffs in order what he believed would protect American agriculture and manufacturing. However, it would backfire when it badly affected the sugar farming in Hawaii, which had Democrats win by a landslide throughout his presidency. He signed tariff bills which would burden hard on consumers, which may have led to his assassination in 1901. After the stock market and financial crash of 1929, Republican Senators Reed Moot and Willis Hawley of Utah and Oregon sponsored a tariff bill signed by Republican President Herbert Hoover, imposing tariffs on 20,000 imported goods. However, it made things worse due to the world reaction. America got isolated from the world market, leading to the Great Depression, whereby no ordinary American can afford to buy needs and essentials. This tariff bill effect would cost the Democrats winning elections to the Senate and the House and gubernatorial races throughout the span of 30 to 40 years. When Japan became Asia's economic powerhouse in the 1980s, producing electronics and automobile, President Reagan imposed 100% tariffs on Japan, believing it would protect American manufacturing. This would become a time when Reagan laid off many jobs. However, the big fallacy behind it did not help on American protectionism. In 2002, President George W. Bush imposed 30% tariffs on imported steel, believing it outweighed employment and gross domestic products, which he then lifted in 2003. Let's take a commercial break. Please stay with us.
Pure Medical Equipment provides top-notch quality medical supply equipment. Whether to rent or buy, Pure Medical Equipment and Supplies has it all.
Pure Medical Equipment is committed to serve and give back to Southern Nevada.
We deliver medical supplies and rentals to your door.
Welcome back to The Pulse. In our international news, the Associated Press reports that Congo's government commutes death sentences for 3 Americans convicted in failed coup plots. Congo's President Felix Tshisekedi commuted the death sentences of 3 Americans convicted of engaging in a failed coup attempt in the country's capital, Kinshasa, last year. An official said Wednesday. A presidential directive remitted their death sentences to life imprisonment, according to Congolese presidential spokesperson Tina Salama, more than 6 months after a military court sentenced the 3 and over 30 others to death for the failed coup. The pardon came as Congolese officials sought to clinch a minerals deal with the United States in exchange for security assistance to help Kinshasa combat rebels in the conflict-torn eastern region. 6 people were killed in last year's coup attempt, orchestrated by little-known opposition activist Christian Malanga, which targeted the Kinshasa's presidential palace as well as Tshisekedi's close associate. Malanga was fatally shot while resisting arrest shortly after live-streaming the attack on social media, according to the Congolese army. Marcel Malanga, Malanga's 21-year-old son and the U.S. citizen, was one of the Americans convicted of taking part in the coup conspiracy. The two Americans, like Tyler Thompson Jr., 21, a high school acquaintance of the younger Malanga, who came to Africa from Utah for what his family thought was a free vacation, and Benjamin Ruben Zyman Palon, 36, who is said to have met Christian Malanga through a gold mining company. During the trial, Marcel Malanga stated that his father forced him and Thompson to participate in the attack, threatening to kill them if they did not comply. The defendants were mostly Congolese, but also included a Briton, Belgian, and Canadian. They were charged with attempted coup, terrorism, and criminal association. 14 people were acquitted. Meanwhile, the U.S. State Department said late Tuesday that Masad Boulos, President Trump's new senior advisor for Africa, will go to Congo and 3 other African countries, Rwanda, Kenya, and Uganda, beginning on April 3. Boulos will advocate efforts for long-term peace in eastern Congo and encourage U.S. private sector investment in the region, according to a State Department statement. South Korea will hold a presidential election on June 3 to determine Yoon's successor. South Korea will hold a snap presidential election on June 3 to replace Yoon Suk-yeol, who was removed from office for imposing martial law late last year. Acting President Han Duck-soo made the announcement 4 days after the Constitutional Court unanimously removed Yoon from office. The next president will serve a full 5-year term. Deep political division will most certainly turn the election into a two-way race between Yoon's People's Power Party and its main liberal foe, the Democratic Party, which has a majority in the National Assembly. The People Power Party will face an uphill battle as it seeks to regain public trust and repair significant internal tensions caused by Yoon's brief declaration of martial law. The question is whether conservatives can unite and field viable candidate to compete with projected Democratic Party nominee Lee Jae-myung, who is widely regarded as the clear frontrunner. South Korean political parties are set to hold primaries to pick presidential candidates in the coming weeks. The Democratic Party's candidate is projected to be Lee, a powerful party leader who no major opponents within the party. Lee, who narrowly lost the 2022 election to Yoon, led the party through a crisis in which many of its members clashed with troops dispatched by Yoon to encircle the National Assembly building, voted down martial law, and later impeached him. About 10 People Power Party politicians are anticipated to seek the nomination. Yoon's decision to impose martial law, which brought armed troops into Seoul's streets and triggered the country's traumatic memories of past military rule, was a blow to his party's reputation. Even though the party wasn't directly involved, some reformists' party members openly criticized Yoon's actions and cast ballots to impeach him, triggering feud with the party's old guard who supported the president. Yoon has die-hard supporters who regularly staged mass protests. South Korea's Conservative Party faces significant disadvantage in the upcoming election. 2 months is a short time to rally the base, moderates, and a conspiracy-driven fringe around a single candidate, said Leif Erik Easley, a professor at Iowa University in Seoul. According to Choi Jin, head of the Institute of Presidential Leadership in Seoul, in the party's current leadership is dominated by Yoon loyalists, which will likely allow the internal division persist and weaken the party's election prospects. We will leave it at that as we are out of time for this edition. I'm Joe Buban. Join us next week here at The Pulse. God bless your week.
Pure Medical Equipment provides top-notch quality medical supply equipment. Whether to rent or buy, Pure Medical Equipment and Supplies has it all.
Pure Medical Equipment is committed to serve and give back to Southern Nevada.
We deliver medical supplies and rentals to your door.